What's up, truckers? Tricky Mick here, and today we're going to be talking about one of the worst financial decisions you can ever make of your life, and I see so many Americans making this. That is right, buying a brand new vehicle straight from the dealership lot and financing it makes it even worse. So here we have a $60,000 Chevrolet Silverado Trail Boss. Awesome truck, but there's tons of vehicles in this price range. It could be a BMW, a Mercedes, a Buick, a Honda, Acura. There are a ton of vehicles in that $60,000 range, so let's use that number to be nice and easy. So let's get right into it. The average monthly car payment for new cars is $716, with the average for used being $526. 39.5% of vehicles financed in the fourth quarter were new vehicles, with 60.5% being used. Of those new vehicles, 80.9% chose to finance, with 85.3% in 2021 doing that same finance. So things are getting better. People are realizing that financing a depreciating asset is a terrible financial decision. All right, so the credit union financing made up nearly 30% of all auto loans during the same period. So that's better. They usually have better rates, so consumers are not being taken advantage of so bad. The average cost of car insurance is about $168 per month. Now that doesn't cover things like tire failures, brakes, maybe a coolant line blows, transmission. There are so many things that are not going to be covered once you get past that powertrain warranty that most vehicles have for 100,000, 5 years. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. You have to do your own research to figure out that. Now, new loan amounts are up 4% in the fourth quarter, with SUVs and wagons increasing their share, hitting 60.7% in the fourth quarter. Now, overall loan balances grew 8.5% in the same period. Now, we cannot forget about depreciating asset value. And don't forget to hit that subscribe, like button, and comment below so we can know what videos to make and what you guys would like to learn about. So how fast do cars depreciate per year? There's no predetermined rate at which a vehicle will depreciate. Within the first year, many cars will lose up to 20% of their value, and after that, they may lose about 15% more per year until the 4 or 5 year mark. So at that end of that 4 to 5 year mark, you're looking at probably 50% of the value of the vehicle that you bought new. So that $60,000 truck, Mercedes, BMW, Corvette, whatever you bought for $60,000, in the next 5 years, it's probably going to be worth only $30,000. But the day you take it off the dealer lot, it's worth only $48,000. So on top of that insurance payment you have every month, you need to make sure that you have gap coverage insurance in case it gets totaled out, so that you don't have a remaining balance on the loan that you have on that vehicle. So let's take a look at the amortization calculator to see how bad it is, even if you have good credit. Now, this could be used new, and we're just taking a look here at the good credit interest rate of a vehicle that is new. So taking that $60,000, at the end of 5.5 years, you would have paid $71,000 for an asset that is worth only about $30,000 at the end of 5 years, losing almost $40,000 you could have invested somewhere else. Now, if you have bad credit, it's an even worse scenario. So let's take a look at the worst case scenario of 25% interest rate. So not only are you going up from that $1,000 a month payment to $1,600, almost $1,700 a month, you're going to end up paying $110,000 for a vehicle that's worth only $30,000 to $35,000 at the end of 5 years. Now that sounds like a terrible financial decision if you ask me. But speaking of financial decisions, I will show you personally where I'm at with my own loan and how I'm paying it down to make sure that I don't end up paying an exorbitant amount at the end. So if I had perfect credit, this is probably what it would look like. Maybe a little bit worse interest rate. Those things are fluctuating right now. But assuming I'd gotten the best deal, I'd be looking at $18,000 over 5.5 years, and that would have been about $21,000 for a vehicle at the end of 5 years. It's worth about $13,000 or $14,000. So we're looking at a $7,000 or $8,000 loss with the loss of value with that, and paying the 6.25 interest rate. Now here's where I'm actually at. 25%. I've made some mistakes. A lot of us have made mistakes, and I want you to learn from my mistakes so that you don't do the same thing. This is why you don't get credit cards, you don't pay things late. Once you get into a bad credit situation, it is really hard to dig yourself out. Now, I'm doing great now. I'm paying things down, and in about a year, I'll be completely debt free. And I'd love to see many other people doing the same thing. So let's take a look here. We've got an $18,000 loan, 5.5 years, 25% interest. Now, if I had dragged that out to 5.5 years, I would end up paying $33,000 for a vehicle that's worth probably about $13,000 at the end of that 5.5 year loan. So losing $20,000 of money that I could have invested into my 401k. Maybe I could have, got into some businesses. They're just an incredible amount of things you could be doing with that money instead of just giving it to the bank. So if you want my opinion, I would never finance a vehicle again like this. I would probably look for something a little bit older, low miles, pay cash. You have to ask yourself, do you really need a new vehicle? And I'll have a lot of people say,
but Nick, I deserve a new car.
I'm not sitting here trying to argue with anyone about that, but I'm just showing you that you can lose an extraordinary amount that could have went to retirement just by going out and looking at that shiny car. And there's many, many Americans that will go out, not think about it. Then on top of that $1,681 a month payment, they have $200 in insurance. And you're spending upwards of 25% every month of your income on an automobile. And that doesn't even include gap insurance, tires, spark plugs, brakes, because at the end of 5 years, you're going to have some miles on that vehicle. It's going to be worth 50% what you paid for it on day one. And you're going to be wishing that you hadn't financed it, or at the very minimum, that you had gotten your credit better and not had high interest rates. So I'm Tricky Mick. Keep on rolling, and let's get out of debt together.